And we're back on the Sleepless Pod.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back.
It's good to be here, Robin, isn't
A
it?
morning session.
This is quite different from what we're used to.
Yeah. So today we have Jack in the studio. Jack, do you want to give us a quick
Hello.
intro?
Hi there, my name's Jack. I'd just like to plug some dates, actually, for the upcoming shows. No, just kidding.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
There'll be a time where I can plug dates, right?
Oh yeah, sure.
For sure.
For sure.
Okay, thanks.
As long as it's just dates with plug-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have Louie too here as well.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for having me again.
He's a regular.
I think we stopped recording at 1 a.m. last night and we're back.
It was 2 a.m. actually.
2 a.m.?
You'll find Louie's thing on our Patreon. But Louie is regular on the podcast.
Yes, I am.
Friend of the pod.
Thanks
Yeah.
for having me again.
No worries. Good to be here.
Less about me, more about you, Jack.
Yeah. So as promised
How wide?
to our listeners, we're trying to get as many people in Toronto, that are part of the creative scene, that, have set themselves up in, the creative process and, made somewhat of a career out of it and kind of, get some tidbits of information for others out there looking to get involved in that specific area.
Yeah. Got a lot of tits for you. A lot of bets.
So I think you were telling me, Jack, you're a photographer. You studied photography.
Yeah, I do photography part-time.
Part-time.
Yeah, but I studied photography. I went to art school in Glasgow. And from there, studying photography, moved over here. But I also work in museums and galleries, and now I'm an installations manager at a museum in the city.
That's
Wow.
pretty cool. So talk us, so installations, you're like previewing work and then deciding what goes in there?
No, I'm basically like the production manager for exhibitions that are put on in the museum. Then previously working in galleries just to produce the shows, to build things for the shows and then create exhibits, things like that.
Well, so what museum are you working in?
The Gardiner Museum,
Okay.
Ceramics Museum,
Ceramics.
Okay.
just
Ceramics.
across
Cool.
from the ROM.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That is, and busy?
It's busy. It's all right. It's okay. It's like an institution, so it moves at a pace that is, I'd say, appropriate for the size of the organization. But then it's like you can work in commercial galleries, which are a lot faster, and you got to just get things done. Whereas in museums, it's a bit slower and a bit more.
Interesting.
A bit more.
Probably a bit more pressure working with ceramics, I'd imagine, given their fragile nature.
Yeah. Once you learn to juggle them, you're all good.
Soft hands.
Yeah. It's actually part of the interview.
Yeah.
Catch!
Ooh, very good.
What's the most complicated thing you've had to install?
The most complicated thing?
Yeah, have you had to suspend a dinosaur skeleton from the ceiling or something?
I actually have worked on a dinosaur skeleton once in
Wow.
Glasgow, and it came to the ROM recently.
Same skeleton.
I've actually
That was
seen
the same one.
That's
Oh, wow.
mental.
I worked on that one in Glasgow.
And what
It's a
type
full
of dinosaur
circle
was
moment.
it?
It was a T-Rex.
Wow.
Yeah, it was huge.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Did it have a name?
No, I can't remember if it had a name in Glasgow.
Apparently
or
they
not.
had feathers. Dinosaurs
Wow,
apparently had
so they
feathers.
say, I don't
yeah.
know.
Apparently
Yeah.
they're more related to birds.
Chickens.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know if I believe that conspiracy. I don't know. Show me the proof.
What about is it John Hancock? Or David Hancock? Your man Hancock who...
Oh, Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock. Where there is saying that there's a whole human civilization developed.
Before.
Have you heard this before?
They had feathers too?
Well, they might have, but anyway, I sidetrack, I divulge. So one of the things we're trying to do is, I think with the studios, we're really trying to encourage like anyone to be creative. But what are some of the things you would kind of, if you were to look back at your career so far and advise somebody trying to get into like the creative like work, like what is any, helpful hints and tips?
Helpful hints and tips. I don't know. I would say that I just kind of fell into a lot of things just by making myself available and saying yes, I suppose. I don't know. I wouldn't claim that I'm any sort of expert on the creative industry. I just knew that I didn't want to work in an office for a 9-to-5 job, and having gone to art school and having like pursued being an artist, you kind of want to work in an industry that is interesting to you and is adjacent to those interests. So just combining your skills with what with what it is that you're passionate with, and if you don't have those skills, then I don't know, go do something else.
And let's say, so if we're talking specifically about photography here, let's say when you were starting out, did you kind of have a narrow scope on what you would and wouldn't take photos of? Or if someone asked you to take photos of their dog, or someone asked you to take photos of tits, you'd do both?
Do I have to pick one? No, I would say yes to everything at first, but then it's like, yeah. So I feel like having like trained as an artist, I had like a specific aesthetic I was interested in, and so then going to like take photos of something that you're not that interested in, I don't know, felt more like work.
Right.
And so I tried to avoid doing those things where I could, but when you have to make money, you don't get to make those choices. So yeah, I guess I just narrowly honed in when I was doing photography on what I wanted to do. And then having worked in galleries, worked as an artist, I was interested in taking photos of art. And so mainly my photography like career, or the photography I was doing for money, was for artists. I was documenting artwork, which I found really interesting.
So in Glasgow, the first things you would have started taking photos of were works of art, or
yeah, pretty much.
A bit of everything?
Yeah, and when I moved
Okay.
here, that's what I was doing too.
Okay.
I was doing that. I was taking photos of people's artworks, exhibitions and galleries and stuff, and then also installing exhibitions
Do you
as
have
well.
an Instagram page with all
I
this?
did. I don't really use Instagram much anymore. I feel like this is the thing. I'm a little bit stubborn and a little bit like creatively conservative, I suppose. And I've resisted social media for a long time, and it's to my detriment. It's not. I think I should have avoided not doing that. I should have leaned in a little bit more, but
Yeah.
here I am.
Each to their own.
Well, it's each
Yeah.
their own. I mean, I'm the same. Like, personally, wanted to get off Instagram, but now with Sleepless, you kind of have to get back on it. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the world's window.
Yeah, in terms of
reality.
accessibility, you just can't beat it.
It's just
right?
very hard, right? Unless you somehow
Mhm.
stumble upon some crazy underground scene where people are doing it by pigeons or something.
That would be cool.
That would be very cool.
It actually would
If
be.
anyone knows of any secret underground society that are just
Messaging
communicating by
pigeons.
pigeons, let us know.
Jeez, that would
great
be
to
a
hear from
great
you.
nightclub.
Or it'd be great to have them on the pod.
It would be.
Bring them in.
Yeah,
Mike
get them in
Tyson
here.
is a big pigeon fan. You know that?
Really?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
pigeon racing
That's how he
or
got into
what?
fighting.
Pigeons.
Pigeons. So
Shut up.
basically, seriously, so there was a guy that used to have pigeons on a rooftop, and Mike used to go up and visit the pigeons, and I'm pretty sure the same guy was also a boxing trainer and got him into the gym.
Oh wow.
Jeez.
If you look up the Mike Tyson murder mysteries, he has his own animated show, and which Mike Tyson voices in it, and
That's hilarious.
that comedian, Canadian comedian, he actually died last year. He's got a very kind of deadpan humor. He's hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I know who you mean.
Yeah. I might look him up here quickly. I wish there was a Jamie here to pull this stuff up.
Yeah,
but
pull that up, Jamie.
he voices the pigeon in it, and yeah, it's very good. I'd recommend it.
I feel like pigeons are Mike Tyson is he pigeon like?
Oh. In what way?
I feel like they're just a bit chaotic,
Yeah.
aren't they? I mean,
Norm MacDonald.
pigeons in this city, at least when you're walking towards them, they won't get out of the way.
Very few pigeons in Vancouver.
Really?
Are
Yeah.
there?
Very few. Like there's more of the Canadian geese than they're the pigeons of Vancouver.
Why didn't you ever go into wildlife photography? Some of those shots, those guys on National Geographic.
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems like
Wildlife
they-
photography is expensive
Really?
Yeah.
because you need lenses.
Oh.
You got to be able to get close to the animals without being close to them. So
Right.
you need the lenses that are very expensive, and it's like.
And you probably need waterproof stuff as well.
And you need all Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
Everything needs to be Gore-Tex.
You
That's expensive.
You didn't fancy being one of those David Attenborough photographers who are literally camped out in a hut for 48
I
hours?
honestly
They're like a
did,
sniper.
but that's the thing. You need to choose. If that's something you want to do, you need to do it.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
would you
Like-
how would you go about getting that gig? Like how would somebody get on being a National Geographic?
It's a good question. I've thought about that a lot. I think what you need to do is just like go do it yourself for a little while, and then like build
Yeah.
a portfolio, I
Right.
suppose, and be like, this is what I'm willing to do.
Yeah.
I've
hit
always
me up
wondered how
sort of
much
thing, yeah.
money those guys get. You know,
A lot.
at the end of the year
A
they have
lot,
a
I'd
top
say,
10
yeah.
animal photos. What if you get number one?
I'd say your
Yeah.
entry level, you're not getting paid a lot, and then when you start building a name, you're just
when you get a photo of squirrels high fiving, you've made it.
Or the pigeons like discussing like their brief from the
plans.
government.
Yeah.
I'm like, all
Or
right.
the pigeon on Mike Tyson's shoulder.
Yeah. Exactly.
So how long are we in here, Tom?
Just over 10 minutes.
Perfect. You see, Jack, it's pretty easy once you're.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get the headphones on, it kind of
Mhm.
just flows.
Let it go.
So why? So you had your career in Glasgow. So then why Toronto, Canada?
Love.
Oh, nice.
I came for love,
Oh.
Yeah. Nice.
but it didn't last very long, so it's okay.
Okay. I mean,
Happens to
And
the
now
best of us.
I'm here for, I don't know,
Good time.
hanging out with some Irish guys in a podcast in a room with Cork.
we're all here for the same thing: love of creativity.
Yeah.
And how long have you been here?
3
Yeah,
years.
3 years.
3 years living here. I just got my PR confirmed this
Congrats.
week, everyone.
Congrats.
Shout out PR.
Congratulations.
Thank
Shout out
you.
PR.
Yeah.
You had a bit of a journey there.
It was a
didn't you, with
journey.
that?
It was a, it's a fucking
It always is. It always
Jesus. Well,
is.
everyone has their own story, yeah. But my basically, I inadvertently got scammed by some immigration consultants.
Oh,
It wasn't
yeah.
really me. It was the people I work for. They tried to help, and then they chose to.
Oh, shit.
Well, we all got scammed. We all got
Wow.
scammed, and they're out there. They're out
Still.
there with
Wow.
like fucking
So
thousands
they just
of
do
Do you
dollars.
want to name and shame them?
Canadapt Consulting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want
Stay
to
with
point any finger.
No
I don't want
shout
to ruin
out to
any
them.
businesses out there, but their name was Canadapt Consulting.
Yeah, but
CA. Well, it's good to know, listeners. If you're looking for your PR,
Don't-
probably don't go down.
Come
that
to
route.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come to Jack. So you're doing part-time photography now. What are some of the works you've been doing?
So usually I would just get hit up by like artists or galleries to go photograph exhibitions that are on. So it's like it's called documentation. And the thing is, one thing about social media is that all artists that make work now are looking to sort of have images of it and to share it online, and that's become like a way of exhibiting art in itself. So through that, just by proxy, photographers are needed to be hired, and so that's what I've been doing.
Cool.
But yeah, it's now that I've got a full-time job elsewhere in the creative industry, it's hard to maintain that, and also having not had a visa for a year, I've been struggling to sort of like do
And,
freelance work.
if you're not really on social media, how are you getting these like contacts for? Is it just through people you know, or
Just being a nice person
just being a nice person?
and
yeah.
being available, I think,
You
is
meet them
kind
in
of
Michael's,
helped.
don't you?
But I could make so much more money if I wasn't a nice person. You know? Yeah, I don't know. Just being around. I think I've just been lucky. When I came here, I was put in touch with the right people, and then I guess I put myself out there, and that I just like told them that I was available to do these things, and
Right.
that I told them what I was able to do. And yeah, and then the work comes. And the thing about Toronto is that it has a lot of work. There's work
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And I struggled in Glasgow because there just wasn't the same amount.
Right.
Do you ever get sort of people that are outside of the art scene requesting for
Yeah,
you to
and
come
I-
and do like
yeah.
private photos?
I was on the TTC a few months ago, and then someone saw me carrying my camera, and
Okay.
they're like, "Oh, you're a photographer," and I always like, I can't say no at that point because I have like 3 tripods. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. Yeah, and then they were like, "Oh, I actually I have my cousin's or my nephew's graduation coming up. Do you mind if I take your number?" And I'm like, "Fuck." And then it's like, I guess I have to like give them my number at that point because I don't want to say no. So then I say yes, and then they're like, "Well, we actually just want family shots." And so then I'm like, "Yeah, sure, yeah, hit me up." And then they'll try to call me that night, and I just didn't answer.
Right.
So I don't
But
really
why?
want to. I don't
Just-
want to go do those things. I just don't. It's not for me. I don't really want to be a creative.
Okay, scratch that. Podcast is gone. All right.
You know what? Sitting here on this couch, I've just realized.
Yeah, I've had a career change. 9 to 5 office job would
Yeah.
sound great.
Yeah, it does sound pretty good actually.
I imagine there's some, people of an affluent nature have approached you to take photos of something that them or a member of their family has created, and it's just been garbage. Have you ever photographed something which you've thought, this is a piece of shit?
Yeah, all the time.
Really? All the time.
Yeah, all the time, for sure.
So I think you said you didn't want to be a creative, but I think you
I do.
probably.
I'm kidding.
I know, but I'm just. I think what more you're getting at is you want to stay true to what you want to do. You're not going to dilute
Exactly.
like your work just because somebody comes up to you and it's easy cash.
Yeah.
Just take some pictures of.
Yeah.
That takes a certain level of resilience.
It does.
Yeah, but then it's to my detriment. But I do like have a specific sort of aesthetic, I don't know, direction, I suppose, for myself. And I've always tried to stay pretty true to that. But then, yeah, it compromises on things like making money. And I like, the main thing for me is that I work as an artist. Like I have my own art practice. That's what I went to school for. And I worked really hard on creating that practice and like trying to figure out what it meant and what it was that I wanted to do. And so making installation art is like what I actually do. That's my like main life project. And everything else is adjacent to that. And so if anything can serve towards that purpose, that's good. But then that means like, yeah, there's some things that don't do that. And taking photos of people's dogs and like family events is not for me. And so like there's trying to like define that difference, I think, has been important as I've sort of like gotten a little bit older and a little bit more professional.
Funny how it's gone full circle. We started out saying the biggest thing to get into creativity is saying yes, but what I'm also hearing is
sometimes you have to say
no.
Yeah.
You know, I can see that because I remember when I was trying to get into my DJing career, I made a fork in the road and decided that I would take a 9 to 5. Maybe I'll revert that in a few years if this gets off the ground. But the biggest thing that I had to struggle with was, do I do this 21st birthday party because the cash is good?
Yeah.
And I have to play the hits.
Exactly.
And you're just like,
put it like that.
I'm going to have to play Beyonce all night long.
That's a really good analogy, actually. It's like being like a birthday DJ versus being a DJ. You know? It's like, what kind of photographer do you want to be? Or like, what kind of music do you want to play? I don't know.
I mean, if you were playing Westlife hits at that party, it would have been fine in Tom's book. Isn't that right?
It would have been
Yeah.
Big
amazing.
Westlife fan.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, let's say I didn't play Westlife at times, but yeah, I mean, that was the trade-off. Like one night you could be playing a gig in a club and playing the exact music you want and getting the vibe off the crowd, being like, I'm playing the music, everyone loves it, it's a vibe, this is great. To the next day, some drunk girl going up being like, can you just play some Drake?
It's a little bit to do with environment as well, though. Sometimes I think that's more from a performing perspective. But when I was in an opera company a couple of years ago, if I was out in the pub drinking with my friends and I was 4 or 5 pints in and people were shouting at me to sing a song, I didn't really want to do it because when I perform, I would be warming up for half an hour. I'd have a piano. And it was a very structured way of performing, and I didn't like stepping outside my comfort zone.
I would say,
I was obsessed with being consistent.
Your rendition in Big White was fantastic.
That was a lot of fun. What was that again?
But I can't even remember the song now. I have the video. We'll play it after the podcast. But for the listeners, Louie and I were up in Big White in Kelowna, and we had a few drinks. And Louie is an opera singer and got up and sang a song, and I've never seen a dance floor get filled so quickly and a crowd go so wild.
I think it could have been Franz Ferdinand. Was it Take Me Out? I don't know.
Oh, we'll find it.
An opera farm?
Yeah, a hybrid.
Hybrid.
Yeah.
It was good. It was
I
good.
want to see that.
Drinking all day. As well.
Let's just say that was the wildest bar in Kelowna that I have ever been to. We'll discuss after the pod.
We also sat in the middle of that bar and played cards for 3 hours. While
So the bar basically is like a normal bar, and then once it hits like 10 o'clock or whatever, it turns into a nightclub, right? And they've got tables on the dance floor. But we had gotten obsessed with playing President or Cappy. And there's like 8 lads, and we just refused to move for ages. So it's like 11 o'clock, and there's like a dance. There's like people dancing around us, and we're still playing cards. People are on the table dancing, and we're like playing cards between people's feet.
Oh, good times.
But yeah, so Jack, you've taken a preview of Sleepless Studios. What's your views?
It's huge. Massive.
Big
So
space.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where we wanted the space where we could offer, a bunch of spaces for whatever creative need you have, So hopefully, it offers something to the city we think isn't here yet. and people get like a lot of benefit from it.
And I think as it starts, you'll have to like adapt to where the needs are. 'Cause
Yeah.
it might not be all DJ rooms that you actually need. It might
That's
be
true.
more of these rooms or like
Yeah.
different types of things, which is kind of cool. You've got that space there to change.
Yeah.
as
That's
things
right.
go.
Yeah.
Like as we said, for anyone that's coming, there is a room at the back of the building that you can't access yet. We're calling that the mystery room, and as we get more folks, we'll put a vote and a poll, and let the community decide what they want. So that's kind of like the plan there as well. So if
Yeah.
somebody wants, if podcasting kicks off, and we want to do a proper like studio, as we touched on.
Yep.
I think having, for the people that are going to be coming here to have some creative control over the space itself
Yeah.
brings another element that other businesses just don't have.
Yeah.
No. Well, that's the thing, right? We want to, like, the biggest thing is, like, I'd love the space to be like a place where somebody comes in and people say hi to each other and have a chat. We discussed this on episode 1, but like the concept of, somebody's doing some shots in there, bump into somebody who's a podcast, kind of like what we just did today. Jack, you came to have a few around, we chatted and we're like, let's hop in the pod and have a discussion. And like, that's the kind of stuff, we'd want, so that there is that cross-pollination of
Collaboration.
collaboration.
Yeah, between.
Oh, this is. I felt I've been held against my will.
Yeah. I'll put the
You
gun
call
away.
this collaboration?
I'll put the gun away.
Just go in this room.
Yeah, just put those headphones on, nice and slow.
Close the door. Shut the curtains.
And when you first moved here, Jack, what was the biggest challenge you found in starting your creative journey here?
Oh, good question.
Oh, nice. This is what
Well,
we
it's
have Louie.
I think like there's more of like a sort of commercial grind here compared to Glasgow. And I say that like people are just a bit more industry orientated, whereas in Glasgow, to me, it was a bit more DIY orientated and like community focused. So like adjusting to that, but that kind of suited me in a way. Like I'm like quite serious, I suppose, and so I like to take things seriously, and that was adjusting between those two different like dynamics was difficult.
So what do you mean by industry focused?
Like I guess people are more aware of what it takes, I suppose, here, and it kind of annoys me, I think, in a way. Like it's a little bit more like professionally, commercially, like sort of like the trajectory is like a bit more industry focused, whereas it's not for art's sake,
Oh, it's
Right.
like
It's commercial.
yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
but then people, I don't know, people they want to go somewhere with what they're doing, is so like there's ambition.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
not just like, okay, there's ambition, the drive to do better, whereas sometimes in Glasgow it's kind of like, we're doing it for the community with no
People
ambition.
don't have ambition in Glasgow. They want to go less. They want to go lower. they want
They want it-
They want to just be miserable
and have their
just-
pints in the pub.
Exactly.
Suffer for their art.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. People want to suffer, whereas people here don't really
So
suffer.
there's actually a big difference I find with North America and definitely probably the UK, is that North Americans always are trying to like, I find anyway that there's genuinely a lot of support. People are like, yeah, I'll do this. And I don't think there's as much like looking over at your neighbor being like, what's John doing up the road?
Right. Yeah.
Fucking John up there is always John.
You
on
heard
the
about
hill
our
is-
John?
Yeah. It's too much money.
Idiot.
Yeah. People, I mean, whether it's false or not, but people usually are like, yeah, okay, I'll give you a shot here or whatever.
So Jack, you said sometimes you'd find it difficult to kind of would you find it difficult to discern what people's intentions are in this space when you first meet them? Then do you know if they're just, if you meet someone, can you tell this guy's just in it for the money, or this guy's in it because of he's trying to pursue his artistic kind of goals?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to apply that to any sort of situations. I don't know what it is. There's just a different. There's just a different mentality around like creativity here, and it's just visceral. But I wouldn't. Yeah. So like sometimes like I wouldn't say anyone's ever like been mean or like crossed paths or whatever. But it's just like everyone's just a bit more professionally orientated.
I see.
I don't know. It's hard to. What do you think? Like-
After asking you that question, it's a difficult question. I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Exactly.
But you're trying to get
It's like
into
so
the opera
abstract.
again, aren't
You did well to answer that at all. Me, myself, yeah. I've joined a choir recently.
Yeah.
Joined a choir last week.
Right.
And then I'm trying to scope out voice trainers at the moment. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, trying to understand what the level is here
Yeah,
is
what
very
it takes.
it's like this. It's night and day from Cork City. Night and day.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely night and day.
Right.
Where I was in Cork, I was, you know.
Oh well, you were the only boy in the tent. that
Yeah,
could sing.
I mean, there was a few of us, but I mean, it's a very, you're going from a big fish in a small pond to a small fish in a
Very big pond.
massive pond. You know what I mean?
Here's a good example of it as well. So I always thought that like Glasgow compared to London, so like Glasgow tried to go left where they see London going right, whereas here, Toronto versus New York, everybody like tries to feed into like the sort of the New York like
style or whatever.
I don't know, like
Yeah.
the New York grind.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
You
more of
know?
a grind, and
And it's
Vancouver
like-
that grind doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. There's you have to have that like big other, that thing that's there. It's like, do you want to be that big other, or do you want to like push against it?
Right.
And I feel like Toronto like wants to be it versus Glasgow. When I was there, it didn't want to be it.
Yeah.
And so there's just like that. I guess that's a little conceptual, but like it's that's the feeling that I kind of felt, is that people want to like be here so that they can make it big.
Right. Gotcha.
And Toronto, I don't know.
Well, it is. It's like what the biggest city, like it's where most of the big corporations are at, and it is
Mhm.
that big city vibe. We're coming close to time here, so
Yeah, we're at
Any-
about 26 minutes. now.
26 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there any plugs you want to make, Jack?
Yeah, I've got some dates coming up. Yeah, no,
Or
I
anywhere
don't,
to
I don't have
reach
any
out
plugs.
if any artists here are looking for some shots.
Yeah,
for that-
sure. Yeah, if you have any art that you want photographs of, I'll do it.
Well, what's
Sure.
your contact?
My contact is my email address, mccombe.jack@gmail.com. You can
How'd you
put
spell
that in
McCombe?
MCCOMBE.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Nice.
you.
Otherwise, you can reach out to
Sleep-
us at Sleepless, and we can put you in contact as well.
For sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. Making sure that people have that chance to reach out and cross-pollinate.
Connected.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the podcasting works pretty easily, right? Once you get the headphones on, it flows.
How did you feel today, Jack, in here?
Good. I wasn't prepared. I've not really thought about it in a couple of years, to be honest. Who I am versus the big world,
Tom,
this
So
is
it's
it. What
good to-
happens
it's good
when
to
you sit down on that
reflect.
couch.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
so tell us, how'd you get here?
Yeah. Tom
I don't
called me
know.
with that as well.
Yeah. Who is Robin Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
I had no idea to answer that question. But yeah, I'm glad, because there's part of me thinking, okay, we'll get Jack in another day, we'll prepare better. But I feel like because we've done it off the cuff, it's been a less prepared, and it's more
Yeah.
flowy.
It's more like a
bit
chat.
raw, yeah.
Yeah,
It's more
what
like a
we
chat,
So I like
So-
it.
yeah.
So there
Right.
we go.
Will we wrap it up?
Yeah. There's another episode, another
Yeah,
interview done.
We'll have to figure out what we call this episode. But yeah, this has been good.
Yeah, thanks
Okay,
very
yeah.
much.
No
Yeah,
worries.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for coming.
What's the podcast called? Sleepless?
The Sleepless
Pod.
Podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of
On
has
Spotify
yeah, it's on Spotify.
exclusively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we,
And
we do-
Patreon.
Shout out
and we have
Spotify.
a Patreon for our late night discussions. If you want to check
Cool.
us out, we'll be live in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, until then, thanks for listening.
Yeah, we need to come up with a
Peace.
catchphrase.
Peace.
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 Sleep well.
Peace.